We're going to now talk inspiration, optimization. You have these businesses, you have these dreams. I think especially in the onset of AI, vision is important, creativity, being an optimal business. So we're going to close out this session with 4 very impressive youth sports businesses who will join the stage to sort of share how their organizations are thriving. This is the point of visualizing, manifesting things. These are the people that you should meet when the next break comes. So to kick this off, let's put our hands together for Zach Eddinger, the owner, the founder, the head coach of Vail SC. We're going to talk the business of space. Not quite sure what that means, but excited to learn. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Oh, love the walk-up music. Let's go.
I wanted it to be a rap.
Oh. There you go.
So thank you very much, guys. Today, I'm going to take a pretty different approach. I'm going to start from a position of vulnerability and share a presentation or a conversation about facilitating the dream. Our club is in Middletown, Connecticut, positioned between, excuse me, I'm excited. It's kind of like pregame, right, for a big game, and you're up here. My arms are a little bit tingly and all of those fun things, right? So give me a second. So vulnerability is a strength, all right? And I want to share about my dream and the facilitation of my dream for my club and for my community. And I want to start by giving you guys some background on how it all began. So my background is I'm the youngest of 5 boys. I grew up on a farm about 1.5 miles away from where our facility was just being built. And the reason that's important is because growing up on a farm, we had the opportunity to earn money, right? To figure out the issues that we had. And soccer became my passion going back to 1994, where Italy played at Wesleyan University and the World Cup was happening, which is amazing because it's back this summer. And I fell in love with the game. And I fell in love with the game and trained and played and ended up playing on multiple teams. And my family helped me to do that by giving me opportunities to make money, so that I could pay for my second and third team. They would support the first team, and I would have to pay for those other things. And this really started to teach me about figuring it out, right? And so I have a saying that I use with my team, with my children, that's everything is figure-outable. All right, and we talked a little bit in the morning breakout session about I don't have space, I don't have access to fields, or I have to rent fields and all of those other things. And I would just challenge everybody in the room to recognize that everything is figure-outable, okay? And so building the dream, going back to my youth, right? I had soccer-specific experiences that allowed me to see different situations, different facilities, different programs. When I was 13 years old, I went to Argentina, and we went to a jockey club in Rosario for an opportunity to play. And what was really cool about that opportunity was the families would stay at the jockey club for the entirety of the day. They would drop off their kids in the morning, they would spend all day there, they would do different activities, and then they would move on and get them in the afternoon. And this started to shape what I wanted, right? These experiences started to shape what I wanted as I got older. And so when we came into the facility, first going back to 2018, we bought an indoor building, we leased an indoor building in Middletown. It was about 20,000 square feet. And the lease was $20,000 a month, fully loaded. That was a big expense. That was the year that we began our club, okay? But what this taught us was that first we could control the programming, right, in order to make the money to take care of the product, to take care of the facility. We started with both basketball and soccer because both sports, from a utilization perspective, would have that facility filled, all right? And that became really important to us. After a couple of years, we grew out of that facility. The basketball program was competing with the soccer program. And so this allowed the conversations with our first investor. We went to our first investor, and we basically had a conversation that said, hey, look, we have 150 basketball players. You know, we're doing about $250,000 a year in basketball. Would you be willing to build a facility for us? I went to that investor, and ultimately he's like, hey, I have some land in an industrial park. Yeah, I'd be willing to explore it. And so we started down that journey, right? We figured out how to get into that space. We figured out how to fill that space, and we figured out how to make it work. That was step one on our journey. And ultimately, what that did during this period of time was just helped us to recognize that we could figure out what we wanted our program to look like and what we wanted our home to be long term, okay? And so as we began to think about our space in Middletown, we really started to think of what are the different opportunities that people want, and we recognized that sports is a lifestyle, right? How many of you have youth in a sport? Youth, children that are playing a sport? Great. How many of you have become very good friends with the family members that you spend time with on the sidelines? How many of you maybe travel with them? How many of you recognize at holidays or birthday parties and get-togethers and do all of those things with them? So we started to say, okay, sports is a lifestyle, right? So we wanted to build a facility that could encourage the community, all right? And so what we did was we started finding spaces that could be considered a third space. So let me explain to you a third space. And every single town in America loves third space. So a first space is home. A second space is work. A third space is a community space, a church, a community center, any of the extra spaces that bring people together in community, all right? And so that became really important. So we went to the town of Middletown and we said, hey, we're looking for a third space that we could do X, Y, and Z of our activities, all right? And they were helpful with us to say, okay, here is a space that you guys can use. And we located an old Eversource CL&P building, an electrical contractor in our area, with the town's support. And they helped us to win the bid, right, so that we could purchase the property. Now, this is when it got interesting. My background before soccer was in real estate, okay? I was around property management, you know, again, going back to the farm, we facilitated the growth and all of us as children because my father would build rentals or fix up rentals and then we would rent them out. So mixed use development is not something that I had ever done. But what I knew when I was going to build the facility is that I wanted to have these common spaces, and that if I could have partners in these common spaces, that would increase the opportunity and the potential for investment. So we found the space, we bought it. It ended up being a 26,000 square foot mixed use building that was completely vacant. We paid $2 million for that building. On that property, there was 18 acres. Properties before had all kinds of wetlands and this, that, and the other thing where there was endangered species and all of this. This new property had rock. Rock was really exciting for me. So we found this space, $2 million, we purchased this space. Then we sold the dream, okay? $2 million, we were talking about it. We took debt positions from families and friends in order to buy the building. We then found partners. We have a PT company in the building. We have a brewery in the building. We have an office share in the building. We have a gym in the building. We have all of these combination of spaces in the building. That then allowed me to go to the bank, right, and think about how I could get a loan to build my soccer fields. So we first built the building, or had the building. We found the leases from the partners in order to be able to facilitate the growth from there. Now, we ran into some stumbling blocks. I applied for loans with probably around 100 banks. And all of the banks kept coming back, you know, soccer is a unique sport. There's not the resaleability of it. We're not interested in the asset. We're not interested in the asset. Okay, fine. So then what we did was we finally found an SBA loan, Small Business Administration. They needed us to be a 51% owner-occupant. Okay, great. Well, all we really want, SBA, is for you to build these fields. We've already financed these fields. We know we can do a cash-out refi on the commercial space, which is a normal bank loan. And so what do? So we found a lawyer that could condomize our property, right? So now we have 2 condo units in the commercial space. one that is the commercial mixed-use building, and then we have a standalone 12 acres, right, that is for future development of soccer fields and an indoor building. Free and clear. Free and clear. So now I can go to the bank. I have the opportunity to collateralize that space, right? Or I have the opportunity to go out and get loans. So the SBA, a 7A loan, because we were owner occupants and we filled more than the 51% rental, we're able to support our loan. So what we did was we made a loan with SBA for $4 million to build our turf fields. Okay, we have two full-size turf fields with lights plus a 7v7 fields. After that was done, right, we now have a long-term loan on that with the SBA, and we have the building next to it, which is only leveraged at $2 million. Because the building was then filled, we were able to go back to the bank to take out our investors, right, and we were able to do a cash-out refi for that space. So the reason I'm telling you guys all this, and there's a video that you'll see of the space behind it, is you can figure out facilities if that is the dream. Now, I'm blessed enough that I own 100% of the organization, and that allowed me to have businesses in both pockets, right? And the thing about having the businesses in both pockets is one could help the other. So Vail, the sports club, could help with the financing of the land or of the building if required, because it had the revenue returns over the duration of the 7 years that it had been in business. And it could do that successfully. And so, you know, the long 7-minute speech to share with you guys, right? And I'd love to talk to you guys about figuring out your dream. I was talking to somebody at the conference this summer about putting futsal fields inside of a mall. Malls are going out of business. Why can't I take a mall space and put fields in there? A basketball court requires 85 by 50 feet, right? 85 feet long, 50 feet wide. Well, why can't I find an old industrial space that can take care of that, right? And obviously, each of you's community is a little bit different in what you're trying to figure out, but you can find a home for your programming, all right? So there's my very vulnerable speech. I hope that you guys appreciated it, and let me know if you have questions.